load shedding. Over the course of nearly 2 decades, load shedding cost our economy billions of rands a year in lost output. Through the implementation of the Energy Action Plan, through the ESCOM's Generation Recovery Program, through the massive investment in renewable generation, we have in effect brought load shedding to an end. By the same measure, we have to ask what is the value of the work underway to restore stability in other key state-owned enterprises. For years, corruption, dysfunction, as well as mismanagement at Transnet was a severe constraint on growth. It has taken a great effort involving partners across government and across industry to turn the situation around. It has taken quite a lot of doing to sit down also with our unions to work out precisely what needs to be done. Transnet is now registering a steady increase in rail volumes and vessel traffic through its ports. Its financial position is improving, and in the last financial year, cargo volumes through our ports showed its strongest growth in 15 years. These gains have been reinforced by the work of Operation Vulindlela, which continues to remove long-standing structural constraints to growth. The same can be said with our passenger rail network or company, PRASA. We've increased the number of passengers over the past few years on our rail, saving people a lot of money that they were spending on other forms of expensive transportation to and from work. PRASA now transports many more millions of people. It was captured. It's now been revived, and it's working a lot better. The reforms in electricity sector, in telecommunications, you might recall, it took us years and years just to finalize the issue of telecommunications, just the issue of opening up the telecommunications network. We've succeeded. Logistics is one other area where we have now succeeded and are succeeding. Water and the visa system are improving the conditions for investment and economic expansion. These reforms are not always visible to many people immediately, but they are steadily reshaping the foundations of our economy and strengthening South Africa's long-term growth prospects. Some honorable members asked what the value of investment conferences are, what the value of envoys and task teams are. 8 years ago, fixed investment in the country had all but stalled. Business confidence was low, and the relationship between government and the private sector was characterized by mistrust. The investment drive we've launched has made a significant difference. We're able to bring both local and foreign businesses together to encourage them to invest in our economy. And some members of this House treat, say, foreign investment with disdain. I can't think of any country that does not appreciate foreign direct investment. We must improve our foreign direct investment to grow our economy. Some see it as something that should be dismissed. Of the total of 1.5 trillion rand in the investment pledges over the first 5 years, a total of 634 billion has already been invested in new factories, in new production lines, in new mines, renewable energy plants, data centers, and new machinery. Now, these investments, Madam Speaker, have sustained and created employment, have developed valuable skills, have also provided opportunities to emerging businesses, and have also supported livelihoods and communities across the country. They've also enabled stability in some of our established businesses that continue to grow, and some of them grow to an extent of externalizing some of their operations outside our country, thus flying our flag on the African continent, in the Middle East, in the Americas, and elsewhere. And this is born out of the confidence that we continue to generate for businesses to continue to invest. This year's South Africa Investment Conference recorded the highest ever cumulative value of pledges to date, encouraging us to set our ambitions even bigger. This is what these investment moments do. And this is not even counting those that happen in some of our provinces. Our provinces, through their premiers, are able to hold their own provincial investment conferences. Sometimes I do go to support them, to address them, but they hold their own, and they are able to rake in a number of pledges, and a good number of those pledges, depending on the business plans of various companies, do reach fruition, and this should not be looked down upon. Several members here raised the challenge of youth employment or unemployment. We recognize that unemployment among young people remains one of the greatest threats to our country's future prosperity and social stability. We recognize this. And we're not the only country that is dealing with the issue of youth unemployment. But by and large, some of the programs that we have introduced are admired by other nations, and they come and learn from what we are doing. As we create favorable conditions under which investment can take place, investment that creates jobs at scale, the presidency has been central in undertaking mass public employment. The presidential employment stimulus, coordinated through the presidency, has created work and livelihood opportunities for more than 2.5 million unemployed young South Africans. The presidential employment stimulus continues to demonstrate that public support for employment is a vital part of our overall employment strategy and can create opportunities for meaningful work and to create real social value in the process. Last year, the Basic Education Employment Initiative provided work experience through the Presidential Employment Stimulus Initiative for nearly 200,000 young people in schools across the country, with the support provided to social employment, the creative sector, the metros, and the National Youth Service. The National Pathway Management Network continues to expand. More than 900,000 young people joining SA Youth Mobi in the last year, increasing the number of young people now who are on that platform to 5.7 million. These are young people who flight their capabilities, their CVs, onto this platform. Employers then throng to this platform. They come to this platform to find young people who are employable. And this is no mean feat. Some can just dismiss this, but we're one of the few countries in the world that has been able to set up a platform like this. And many other countries are coming to us to learn how we've been able to succeed in mobilizing young people nationally from as far as the rural areas of our country. They get to know about the SA Youth Mobi platform, and they register and put their CVs, and employers then seek the skills and the knowledge and experience that they want. While public employment programs provide important opportunities, our ultimate objective is to create a growing economy capable of generating sustainable employment at scale. We must also appreciate the contributions of the social wage towards inclusive economic growth and social development and improved livelihoods. And in some ways, the programs, the employment programs that we have created and continue to create also prepare fertile ground for employers. In a way, we are also contributing to the business community to find young people who have certain capabilities. On the social wage side, we spend some 61% of our budget before interest costs on the social wage. This is an investment that the country is making in our people. Studies have shown that social grants have enabled a number of beneficiaries to pursue diverse livelihoods, to start and sustain small businesses, to search for employment and to invest in a child's education. I have met a number of people as I go through the streets and the pathways of our country who say, for instance, the SRD grant has helped them to save some money, little as it is, because it does cost us billions, 54 billion and more a year, or 40-something billion. And our fiscal position is rather limited. I do wish we could immediately introduce the basic income grant and sustain the livelihoods of more people. But we are limited by our resources. The will and the wish is there. And this is where we would have to make difficult trade-offs. What do we fund? What do we support? And what do we give up on? And with our purse being as limited as it is, we've got to do patchwork and see the extent to which we can still have a social wage that is amongst the better ones in the world to support the livelihoods of our people. Recipients, for instance, of the child support grant. Well, let me finish this story first. I've met a young woman who says out of the then 350, she was able to save money and start an egg selling business. And by the time I met her, she said, I now earn 15,000 Rand a month. I earn 15,000 Rand a month from the little money that I saved with the 350. I've now started a business. Recipients of the child support grant complete significantly more years of schooling and consistently achieve higher test scores at school. And this is a significant development that we should not lose sight of, particularly ourselves here as the leaders of the country. Of all the investments we are making, I do believe that the most enduring and impactful one is the investment we are making in our children. The presidency was centrally involved in developing the national strategy to accelerate action for children, which was approved by Cabinet in December last year. Central to this strategy is our mission to end child stunting and malnutrition. In line with the commitment made in SONA, we have established an intergovernmental department task team and are setting up mechanisms to engage civil society, business, trade unions to address the issue of hunger and malnutrition. This is taking place alongside the commitment of substantial new resources to ensure that every child benefits from early childhood development. Now, I often say of all the things that we missed, it is early child development. We should have started with ECD much earlier. In 1995, that's what we should have done. We are latecomers. Over the past years, we have just let our young children to run around the streets, to go to creches, which were unstructured. We've woken up now, and the presidency is leading this process. Together with basic education, you will remember we moved childhood development from social welfare into education where it should reside. And that has been a fundamental area of progress, because we want our children to have both the food and the intellectual stimulation to grow their brain power and their bodies to full potential. That is what we are about. Another question to ask in this budget vote is, what is the value of the work we have done, driven from the presidency to root out corruption and state capture? The State Capture Commission estimated that more than 57 billion rand was lost through state capture. And I sometimes think that it's much more. However, the true cost of state capture to the economy is lost investment, higher borrowing costs, collapsed institutions, and foregone growth and jobs is much greater than what it would be said we lost through losing 57 billion. Work has begun in earnest to recover as much of those funds or stolen money as possible. As I reported yesterday, recoveries by law enforcement agencies linked to the work of this commission now stand at over 17 billion. You'll recall everyone was criticizing the work of the commission and the cost, that why should we spend R1 billion supporting the State Capture Commission? Well, you can do the maths. The return has been more than phenomenal. Imagine investing R1 and getting 17 as a return. Phenomenal. You can do the sums. Now, sometimes we become critical because our thoughts maybe don't extend to the point of seeing what the real outcome could well be. As a result of presidential proclamations, the SIU has recovered 1.3 billion in cash and assets just in the past financial year alone. And the SIU has been one of our most effective tools that we are using today. A number of honorable members correctly pointed out that corruption weakens the capacity of the state, undermines public trust, and diverts resources away from the needs of our people. Absolutely correct. The fight against corruption is therefore not simply a governance issue. It is a development issue. It is a service delivery issue, and it is also a moral imperative. Beyond the recovery of stolen funds and the prosecution of wrongdoing, we're working to build institutions that are transparent, accountable, resilient against future abuse. We are building the system that will support much better governance going forward, so that even those who may come later and want to capture the state, they will find that the system just does not allow it. We are working hard to strengthen consequence management as well, to improve procurement, oversight, and to promote ethical leadership across the public sector. And it could be said that maybe we are not doing enough. We need to do much more to promote consequence management. And yes, we will take criticism and we will strengthen our resolve to have more and more consequence management. We have been dealing with those who do not do their work. And recently we even had to dismiss a director general for not doing the work that they were supposed to do. And they were dismissed. And those are the many steps that we are taking to make sure that consequence management becomes a culture that all of us will embrace. It's a long way to go, but we will get there. Several speakers raised concerns about crime, violence, and the effectiveness of our criminal justice system. Now, these concerns are both legitimate and urgent, and they need to be addressed because several members who raised this are absolutely correct. And some even made suggestions, which suggestions we will take up. Every day, South Africans experience the devastating consequences of violent crime, organized criminal activity, gender-based violence, and the exploitation of vulnerable communities. As we said in the State of the Nation address, the fight against crime cannot be approached as a routine function of government. It must be approached as a national priority, requiring urgency, coordination, and sustained effort. And we must be one of the very few countries in the world where we engage or seek to engage the community to help in fighting crime. The community policing forums are such intervention because it speaks to how we can all work together. And that is why we have placed specific focus on tackling organized crime, reducing gun violence, and restoring stability and security in communities ravaged by gang violence or warfare. Now, the South African Police Service has achieved much success with its specialized task forces, as well as units to deal with specific forms of criminality, and will continue to refine this approach. Some members were calling on us to set up some of these task forces in various parts of the country. Useful suggestion. It has to be incorporated into the generalized work that the police do. A number of members reminded this House that the measure of society is how it treats its most vulnerable. The scourge of gender-based violence and femicide remains one of the greatest challenges confronting our nation. We agree with the honorable members who said that the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide must be established without delay, and because that will give the matter priority. Yes, the government remains committed to ensuring that we strengthen our fight against gender-based violence. The minister has finalized the names, which she will now bring forward to me to sign off, to make sure that the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Council is set up. So it is ready to be set up right away. But I must remind us that we took a long time as the National Assembly to arrive at a conclusion on setting up this. But from our side, we will do it quickly. And as I said yesterday, we remain committed to strengthening prevention efforts, improving support services for survivors of gender-based violence, enhancing the effectiveness of the criminal justice system and response to address the social conditions that contribute against violence against women and children. Now, this work requires the collective effort of government, communities, faith-based organizations, civil society, as well as the private sector. Madam Speaker, we can state with conviction that as a nation, we look to the future with confidence because we have seen what we are capable of. 5 months from now, South Africans will participate in local government elections where they will signal with their votes how they want their municipalities to be run. The elections will be overseen by the IEC, one of our finest and most trusted institutions, constitutionally mandated to safeguard our democracy. It was quite disappointing to hear aspersions being cast on the IEC by a member of this House. Since the dawn of democracy in 1994, this country has held 7 national and provincial elections and 6 local government elections. Without exception, all of these elections were declared free and fair and took place under conditions free from violence. And that, as a developing economy, democracy rather, we should be proud of. At a time where there is democratic backsliding in many parts of the world, that participatory democracy remains strong in South Africa. And this is a credit to our constitutional order and to the work of the Independent Electoral Commission. Now, I urge members of this House, and indeed all South Africans, to rally behind the IEC as we prepare to head to the local government elections. Because these elections are taking place at an important time as we work to fashion a new approach to local government. The draft revised white paper on local government, which has been developed through extensive consultations, proposes far-reaching changes to governance arrangements that we have. These are intended to reduce overlapping powers as well as functions and ensure that each municipality is able to fulfill its responsibilities. In particular, we need to reorganize how water and electricity services are delivered. We continue to move forward in establishing a utility model which allows water and electricity services to be ring-fenced, professionally managed, and that they should be able to invest in essential infrastructure, maintenance, and improvement. In many parts of our country, this is not happening. Now, with the proposed changes, municipality will be held to stricter account on how they spend public money. Effective local government is critical and absolutely necessary for the progress that we want to see in our country. We all carry a responsibility, wherever we are, to ensure that local government works for all South Africans. 32 years after the achievement of democracy, South Africa remains a country where political contestations takes place openly, where the courts are independent, where the media operates freely, and where citizens are able to hold those in power accountable. These are achievements that we should never take for granted, because it does not happen in many countries. And all of us have a responsibility to protect these great achievements and freedoms. Having come from the apartheid past, where all these freedoms were not present, were not enjoyed, we need to continue protecting all these rights and these freedoms. These are valuable rights and freedoms that we must protect. Reference was made by a number of speakers to the Section 89 process that Parliament has embarked upon following the Constitutional Court judgment. What I can say is that my approach to this matter is guided, as it has always been, by the supremacy of our Constitution and the rule of law. The institutions of our democracy must be allowed to perform their work without interference and without any form of intimidation. I will continue to uphold the principles and safeguard the integrity of my office. I will respect the work and authority of Parliament and abide by the rulings of our courts. I have every confidence in the constitutional processes of our country and will continue to respect and abide by them. We will not allow anything to slow the momentum of growth and transformation that, with each passing day, is gaining more and more pace. So, honorable members, South Africans in the end do not judge government by the speeches that we make or the debates that we have had in this House. They judge us by whether they feel safe in their homes, whether they can find work, whether services are delivered, whether corruption is punished, and whether their children can look to a future with a great deal of hope. Those are the standards by which this presidency wishes to be measured and to be judged by. And those are the outcomes towards which we direct all our efforts. Myself, the Deputy President, and the Minister in the Presidency and the Deputy Ministers, and our officials and our advisors, and all our ministers and deputy ministers who work in the various departments. This is our function. South Africa has faced many challenges over the course of its democratic journey. We have confronted division and instability, and some of the instability manifestations have been violent. We have confronted corruption and state capture. We have confronted a devastating pandemic and an unprecedented energy crisis. Each time, through determination, resilience, and collective effort, we have prevailed as South Africans. Today, we are seeing the results of the efforts that we have made. Investment is growing, infrastructure is being rebuilt, energy supply has stabilized, institutions that were wrecked are being restored, and those that were weakened are being restored. Opportunities are being created for many South Africans. While much work remains to be done, we can say here with confidence that our country is moving forward. Let us therefore reject pessimism and cynicism. We must draw strength from what we have achieved together and from what remains possible. We should, Madam Speaker, continue to work together to build a South Africa that is growing, inclusive, prosperous, and united. I know that one of our members here will get very excited when I say we must build a South Africa that is successful. A South Africa in which every person can realize their potential. A South Africa that works for all and leaving no one behind. That is our remit, that is our determination, and as the presidency, we will not move backwards. We will always be moving forward, improving the lives of South Africans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Malibongwe.
Thank you very much, Honorable President, for your concluding remarks on your budget. And I'm sure the members have received the responses, as you say, that many of them we would not have been able to do given the time that we have. But I'm sure in the ongoing engagement with members of Parliament, as you always come to this House, they'll be able to continue to engage. Thank you very much. Thank you, honorable members. This concludes the debate on this budget vote and the business of the day.
Malibongwe.
Order. I request members.
Malibongwe.
Order, honorable members. I request members to stand and wait for the Speaker and the maids to leave the chamber. The House is adjourned.
Kalibongwe. Madam Speaker.
Happy birthday,